Hi there, Gracie Corb here. Story time 5. I have a story to tell that these aren't in a time sequence. Um, when I had my first hippie house, and I just happened to be alone there one day, when Dave Schmidt, my friend that went with me on the border run, came by with a friend of his that had just gotten out of the CYA, the California Youth Authority. It's a juvenile prison, basically. And he was, God, I don't know, 17, 18, something like that. Um, and it was his first time being out when the hippies were around. He'd been locked up for a few years. So Dave said, well, he wanted to try marijuana and see if he likes it. And I said, oh, okay, well, great. And so we went into a bedroom of the house, sat on the floor. I shut the door. And then I said, well, you guys bring food and stuff like that? And they went, yeah, yeah, we both have hot, we got some Cheetos and we've got some chocolate milk. And I said, okay, um, you want to get high, right? And the kid goes, yeah, I want to get high. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to lock the door and we're going to smoke until we want to leave. And he goes, okay. And I said, now, do you want to smoke just a joint or a couple of joints? Or do you want to smoke a bag of weed? Or would you like to, we can smoke a kilo if you want. And he goes, no, no, I just want to get high. And I said, okay, that's fine. We'll do that. And I opened the window and I said, this is the only key to the door. And then I threw it outside, shut the window, sat down, and I reached over and grabbed a kilo, pulled it over, and his eyes got really big, and he looked at that, and he goes, is that a kilo? And I said, yeah, well, as a matter of fact, it is. And I handed it over to him, and he looked at it, and he goes, wow. And he handed it back and looked at his friend David, and he goes, that's really a kilo. And David goes, well, yeah, told you he would take care of you. And he goes, oh, okay, And I said, yeah. I opened up the colored wrapper, opened up the butcher paper, laid it down there. And I picked the weed up and shook some of the weed off the sides of it. And then I handed the bare brick to him, let him look at that. I box carted the weed that was laying on the ground. Now, box carted means that I put the weed and seeds into a shoebox top and used a plastic card to tip the box up. And then using my hand with a motion like that, it separated the seed from the pot. And then I rolled some joints. He handed me back the kilo. I set it back down. And I rolled 3 joints, handed one to Dave after I lit it. Lit another one, handed that to Dave. Lit a third one, and I took a hit, and then I handed that one to Dave. So, of course, he handed his off to his friend, and his friend handed off to me, so we passed around the 3 joints. And nowadays, of course, we each smoke our own joint, but at the time, it was a social thing. And so I rolled 3 more joints when those were pretty much done and started them out same way. And so we smoked 6 joints. His friend fell asleep. Dave told me how much he appreciated me taking care of his friend. Dave was the sort of person that didn't usually have drugs with him, around him. Um, but he knew I did. He knew I always had weed. I always had LSD. And I mean, literally, I always had weed. I always had LSD. And so he knew his kid would get high. And, that was fun. So we waited a little bit. And then I told him, I said, hey, I want to try something new for you. I'm sure you've never even heard of this, but I want to make a vacuum joint. And he goes, the fuck is a vacuum joint? To David. David looked at me and looked back at him, and he goes, fuck if I know. I've never heard of it, so I don't know what it is. And I said, well, it's a front page of a newspaper rolled up and wrapped with wire so it holds it together because of the weight of the weed inside. And it's a few ounces of weed rolled up that way and then stuck into a vacuum cleaner and lit, and it turn it off and on, and it sucks the smoke in and blows it out. And they just both thought that I was nuts, which is probably why, well, I'm called Crazy Corb for a reason. So anyway, I went ahead, I rolled the joint, got it all stuck into my Electrolux canister vacuum cleaner. And so then it was a simple matter of me just needing to tell them how it was going to go. And so I said, hey, this is what I do. I hit the button, turn it on, it starts to suck, I stick flame in front of it, the joint gets lit, I turn it off. Turn it on, turn it off. Turn it on, turn it off. And it fills the room with smoke. So that's what I did. We're sitting on the floor, cross-legged, and I couldn't see David. And I couldn't see his friend. And they couldn't see me, and they couldn't see each other. So we sat there for a few minutes and inhaled the smoke. And then I looked over, and his friend was asleep again. And David goes, well, I appreciate you getting him high, man, but about the key in the door, do you have another key in here? And I said, no, that was the only key. And he goes, well, how in the fuck are we going to get out of here? He said, I do have to take him to see his PO in a day or two. And I said, oh, well, that won't be a problem because somebody will be coming by sometime. But I can get the key. All I have to do is open the window and ask, and somebody will find the key and come up and let us out. And he laughed, and he goes, you probably should do that. And I said, okay. So I opened the window, and I stuck my head out and looked around, and there was this guy walking down the alleyway there. And I said, say, would you mind doing me a favor? I said, it's a long story, but the key to the room that I'm in is down there in the alley, and we need somebody to pick it up and come up and unlock our door and let us out. And he goes, is your house on fire? I said, no, that's just pot smoke. And he goes, oh, okay. And he looked down and he goes, well, here it is. And he picked up the key and he came up the stairs and he came in and knocked on the door. And I said, yes, this is the right room. And he goes, oh, okay. And he unlocked the door and let us out. David's friend goes, oh, God, I got to piss like a racehorse. And he runs off to go to the bathroom. So the guy comes in. And I said, well, I would introduce you. This is my friend David. And, of course, I'm Gary. And back then, I went by a lot of names. But Gary was my name and is my name. And he introduced himself and said, what's going on? And I held up some weed, and I said, and we were just having a vacuum joint. And he goes, I remember you talking about that the other night and when you were having a party. And I wondered what the fuck you were talking about. He said, how does that work? And I said, well, it works really good. And he said, well, here. And he handed me a lighter. And so I held the lighter in front of the joint, turned the vacuum on, and got the smoke coming again. David's friend came in, and we shut the door to keep the smoke with us. And it was fun. It was really, really fun. We got really, really high. That was what his friend wanted. So, and we had a good time. They ate some cheese. They drank some chocolate milk. The guy that brought the key up, I had met him at the party, and that was the party where we painted the walls of the house. So David and his friend had needed to go. So they got up and thanked me, and out the door they went. This guy stayed there and we smoked some more weed. And he goes, you know, you actually locked them in? You locked the door? What if I hadn't come walking by? And I said, well, you know, somebody would have been here eventually. And he laughed and he goes, and you figured that I would just find the key? And I said, well, I just threw it down in the alley. It was still there. And he laughed and he goes, wow, you're crazy. And I said, well, hi anyway. And he laughed and he goes, yeah, okay. And I said, you know, if you're hungry, we always have spaghetti on the stove. And he goes, well, I am a little hungry. He said, but I got places I have to go to, so I do need to leave. However, I'll come back later. And I said, good, we'll have spaghetti then, because I have spaghetti. We always have spaghetti. We eat breakfast in the morning, and then we eat spaghetti for dinner, and we start dinner, and it's always there, always hot. And he laughed, and he says, well, I'll tell you what, your party was the best party I've ever even heard of, let alone been to. He said, and the stuff that people wrote on your walls are just incredible. Some of the paintings are just fantastic. And I said, yeah, some of them are really fucking poor. But, you know, my friend Laura came by and collected them all together like connecting dots. So it's become one big painting. Then he laughed and he goes, has your landlord seen the place yet? And I said, no, he's in another city and I just mail him the rent. And he goes, he will come by someday. And I said, well, you know, what the hell? He'll be in for a surprise. And the guy laughed again. He got up and we shook hands. He left. I went in and sat down, made some more lids, did some things like that I needed to do. I always kept between 60 and 100 lids packed in the house, ready to go, because it just seemed like I had that many people coming by every day looking for some weed. At that time, there wasn't a whole lot of weed available. Not good weed. And usually if you gave somebody your money to get some, you got ripped off. I put a stop to that shit. It pissed me off. I got ripped off 3 times. That's why I decided to start selling. I started selling pot 3 weeks after I smoked it the first time. And I don't sell it anymore. I haven't for years. But I give it away a lot because I grow it. Although I'm not growing it right this second. But I have been growing for the last 6 years or 7 years. So anyway, I thought I'd run that story by you. I thought that you would enjoy it. I hope you did. And I hope that you subscribe. I hope that you like the video and you hit the like button. Those things are important. I don't want to have my YouTube channel just be something for 10 or 12 people to look at occasionally. I'd like to have action. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll subscribe.